Hello, friends of mathematics. Today is a special day because you are going to be watching a video on factoring completely, the first day of it. So in today's video, we are going to talk about all the ways that we've factored so far, and we are going to put them in this one beautiful math package. I am excited. Are you? I hope that you are. Okay, so today in the learning goals, I just want you to highlight something or star it, make it stand out. Today we are going to learn how to factor completely, and factoring completely usually means factor more than once. And we are first going to find the GCF, and then we are going to factor with the box method. So in all the other times that we've factored before, we've done one factoring method and then called it a day and we were done. Today we are going to have to do at least two factorings. Okay, so if we look at number one, let's follow what the rules said. It says first look for the GCF. So we are going to get into the habit of doing that now. Is there a GCF of 2x squared minus 10x plus 12? Yes, there is. It's 2. So let's factor out a 2. If I factor out a 2, I'm left with x squared minus 5x plus 6. All right, perfect. Now we have a trinomial that's left inside the parentheses that looks a whole lot like what we've been factoring. So I'm going to take that x squared minus 5x plus 6 and hopefully factor it so that my final answer will be 2 all times this trinomial factored. So let's see what we have up our sleeves. Well, x times x is x squared. And what are two numbers that multiply to 6? Well, 1 and 6, 2 and 3. I'm going to try 2 and 3. Somehow they have to multiply to a positive but add to a negative. So if you're telling me that you think both of those numbers should be negative, you're correct. Let's see if this is right. Negative 3x plus negative 2x is negative 5x. Wow. So 2 all times x minus 3 all times x minus 2. One of the biggest mistakes that people forget when factoring completely is they often leave out the GCF in the final answer. And that's not okay because he is part of the answer. If I multiply this back through, I should end up getting this as my final answer. If I left out the 2, I wouldn't get the original as my final answer. So always be careful of that GCF. All right, number 2, here we go. Factor completely. Negative 3x squared plus 27. First, we are going to rock and roll by factoring out the GCF. Now, in the past, I mentioned that we typically don't factor out a negative, but today we are actually going to think about factoring out a negative because, let's think about why. I do not like to ever see this x squared term negative, right? We don't really see that. It's a lot easier when that's not negative. So if we can factor out a negative to make that first term positive, we for sure are going to do that. So I think my GCF of negative 3 and 27 is negative 3. If I factor out a negative 3, I'm left with x squared. If I factor out a negative 3 from a positive 27, I'm actually left with negative 9 because negative 3 times negative 9 is positive 27. Okay, so I factored out my GCF, and my final answer, I want it to look something like this. So it looks like we need to use a box method to help us factor. Now, some of you might be saying, no, Mrs. Ruscio, look at this is a difference of squares. And some of you might be like, I don't need the box because you're already seeing this is x plus 3, x minus 3. And you're correct. But some of you might say, I really like this box method. That's what really helps me. So let's do that quickly off to the side. X times x is x squared. Remember, there was no x term, so it has to add to 0x. 3 times 3 is 9. If one of them is positive and the other one is negative, that's what's going to get me my 0x. Dun, 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 dun. There's our final answer. All right, moving on to number 3. Remember, GCF is not always a number. Sometimes it can be a variable. In this case, all 3 of my terms have x's. So let's factor out an x. X squared minus 3x minus 4. And do you notice what we have left is a trinomial? So our final answer needs to look something like this. But what we need to do off to the side is figure out what that trinomial is factored. So if I put the x squared minus 3x minus 4 inside the box, let's figure out how that factors. Well, x times x is x squared. 4 and 1, 2 and 2. Let's see, I got to get to -3 somehow, so I think we're going to deal with 4 and 1. I think the 4 is going to be negative because I have to have more negatives when I combine them. So let's see if that was right. -4x plus 1x is -3x. Yes, that's correct. So inside my parentheses, x plus 1, x minus 4.